awe-inspiring, breathtaking, and serene. The sound of silence remains with me today. I returned to Mauna Kea as a hike leader with Lauren Gill while working at the Honolulu Botanic Gardens. I chaired the program committee of the Conservation Council of Hawaii in 1983 when I invited astronomers to present their plans for discussion at a public meeting. At that point, I was excited about what was going on Mauna Kea. And I followed the development of the Mauna Kea Science Reserve Complex Development Plan in 1983 to 85, and remember the assurances regarding future compliance with administrative rules and limits on development. Expanded development on Mauna Kea was a very controversial topic in the community in the 1980s, and one of my kupuna, May Hall, was very instrumental in raising some of the issues that remain with us today 30 years later. Under pressure from Governor Ariyoshi and Mayor Kimura, the university promised a limit on the number of telescopes, a promise it no longer honors. I continue to use the trails and visit the summit of Mauna Kea during the 70s through the present for recreation, for wilderness experience, for the unfettered vistas and the silence and the spiritual peace and the natural beauty and the cultural significance. The cumulative impact of intensified industrial land use at the summit has really impacted my recreational enjoyment and spiritual practice. The cumulative impact of the destruction of habitat, the all fettered by the presence of multiple domes on the skyline. It's almost impossible to find a location on the island of Hawaii where one cannot see a telescope in one's view of Mauna Kea. I believe I'm not alone in finding these visual obstructions a significant annoyance and adverse impact. I remember Mayor Kimura saying the same thing. The legislative auditor in 1998, and I quote, said, DLNR has failed to define its relationship with the university, allowing the institution to oversee its own activities and not provide a mechanism to ensure compliance with lease and permit requirements. The auditor also reported that without permit conditions or controls to ensure implementation of management plans, the university was allowed to continue development without completing prior tasks outlined in management plans. In 2003, my concerns led me to join a hui of petitioners, including the Sierra Club, who took part in a contested case hearing and successful litigation to provide information, examine the record, and demonstrate the harm this project will cause. We intend to provide the board with a better opportunity to make an informed decision regarding the 30-meter telescope application. I brought my concerns to this case because, as a longtime recreational user, I've felt it is my citizens' responsibility during these years to participate in dozens of hearings and meetings to help review and plan and propose appropriate management of the natural resources associated with Mauna Kea. I've contributed hundreds, if not thousands, of hours as a volunteer to this effort, and not 1 hour has been compensated. Nor have I received any benefit from the effort other than the knowledge that Mauna Kea deserves the care and respect, and this has been affirmed by the tremendous community support that this effort has generated. At the same time, the university has expended millions of taxpayer funds to pay outside attorneys to represent the interests of California-based TMT Corporation and its partners. If I believed that my efforts had led to appropriate management, I wouldn't be sitting here. Instead, I have suffered as I have observed the cumulative industrialization of the wild panorama of the summit. My best efforts have not remedied the habitat loss, the repeated pollution accidents, the introduction of multiple alien predators and weeds, the permanent and irreversible alteration of the geologic terrain. The summit landscape, which was once breathtakingly beautiful, has become more akin to a cityscape in my eyes. I hike to experience the wilderness, the ecosystems, and the habitats for native species, the constantly changing weather, the play of the light on the landscape, the serenity of silence, and the revelation of the ancestral and spiritual wisdom. The steady deterioration of the natural landscape, including the intrusion of visual distractions, noise, traffic, trash, access limitations, has really had a shattering impact on my recreational experience. To escape the sadness I feel when I'm surrounded by the buildings and the roads, I walk long distances to find landscapes free of the visual and psychic clutter. These places include the Northern Plateau and Pu'upoliahu, where I can gaze at Haleakala or Pu'umakanaka without the industrial distractions. For this reason, I maintain that the proposal to build a 30-meter telescope on the Northern Plateau of Mauna Kea's summit region would further degrade, despoil, and irrevocably harm my rights to a clean and healthful environment. The proposition that an 18-story, 5-acre industrial structure proposed to be built in a national natural landmark would have no significant impact boggles the imagination. The claim that the proposal is consistent with the purpose of the Conservation District simply ignores the purpose set out in the law. Conservation districts were formed for the purpose of conserving, protecting, and preserving the important natural resources of the state through appropriate management to promote their long-term sustainability for the public health, safety, and welfare. The applicant contends that virtually any telescope development they propose would be allowed because the Comprehensive Management Plan and its subplans provide a framework of comprehensiveness and strength for managing development within the MKSR. I'm quoting. I strongly challenge